Hola, bom dia. Carl Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream, YouTube and podcast. The Happy Homesteaders live stream, YouTube and podcast, no less. And it is a real treat this morning, real happy homesteader territory. Not only do I have a tomato in my hand there, that's from our garden, it's from our balcony where we've been growing food. We are moving. We're in the middle of moving. I must be mad doing all of this and moving at the same time. And we're going to have more space to grow food, grow children, etc., grow ourselves, grow up, whatever. But that's from the balcony. That's going to get a whole lot better. And today's show is all about a remarkable man who I didn't know about. His name is Henrique Bastos. And he has been brought to my attention by Marco Raposa, my new Portuguese friend, Marco Raposa, who, as it turns out, is just on a quinta, only a few minutes away from me, just around the corner, quite incredible. And he is hosting a workshop this weekend of regenerative, holistic agriculture, biological pest control, and soil regeneration. So I'm so delighted to be talking about that today. Let's take a very quick look at the weather. Do let me know how you're doing as well. There's a muted tone in the air for sure. It's been raining here this morning, and it's decidedly dull. And it's a little bit like it's a mixture of dull and lull before the storm here in Korea in the Aveiro district of Portugal. How are you? No one's saying hello yet. Is everybody in that sort of slightly muted frame of mind this morning? How are you? Who are you? Where are you? And how's your weather? I'll just have a quick look at the principal points of Portugal in terms of weather. And that rain I suggested would come has indeed come, certainly here. I don't know about where you are. We are looking at a slightly cloudy Lisbon today, currently 22, but rising to 33. Porto, currently 21 and sunny, rising to 27. And Coimbra, another day of mid-30 temperatures whilst I'm trying to move house. It's very interesting to have all the added challenges, climatological challenges, climactic, I don't know, weather challenges. Fascinating. So it's all I can do to remain mindful, meditative, and calmo, tranquilo as we move house at the moment. Yeah, so Coimbra, 35 degrees forecast today. A little bit of merciful cloud. And Faro, much lower in temperature, actually, 27 to look forward to today, but that's still very, very comfortable, isn't it? Sunny weather in Faro today, currently 23. So how are you doing where you are? Paul, morning, Paul. Bon dia from a very sunny Ardennes this morning. Good for you. Glad to hear it. And good morning. Our absolute veterans of the Good Morning Portugal experience. I was so loyal to the show, checking in every morning, this time from Costa de la Voz as we trace their journey around Portugal. Fantastic. But yes, down there, not right down there in the south, they are getting up to the middle of Portugal now, of course, at Costa de la Voz. A miserable morning there. I'm sure it's not miserable where you are, guys, but yeah, I'm sure you're only talking about the weather there this morning. A little bit of news to take a look at today. An interesting smattering of news. Before I go there, though, look, Jay Walker say hi. Jay was looking very summery this morning in Cardiff Bay, South Wales. For those who don't know where Cardiff Bay is, made famous, of course, by Shirley Bassey, right? I mean, everyone knows Cardiff, don't they? And the legends who came from there, and of course, how Gavin and Stacey, I think, have popularised Cardiff, right? And Barry Island. But some clouds came along and it changed. That's the weather for you, isn't it? British weather, as Frank Sinatra said, if you don't like the British weather, just wait 5 minutes. Okay, a look at this news smattering smorgasbord this morning of what goes on in the world, according certainly to the Portugal resident. Let me share that on a screen with you by way of a little bit of contrast and a change from looking at my boat race here. And look, news, white smoke. They've used the papal or Vatican analogy here. This is the wonderful Natasha Don again, our favorite correspondent at the Portugal resident. But day 4 of the 2-day summit in Brussels has resulted in at least a partial plume of white smoke Portuguese Prime Minister Antonio Costa told journalists this afternoon that Portugal had been guaranteed 15.3 billion in grants from the recovery fund. He totally believes this still gives the country a good deal. It's not perfect, he says, bearing in mind, what would you do? Here's a question for you. What would you do with 15.3 billion if you suddenly found yourself with access to that? You know, some sort of dream, or is it a nightmare scenario? You are now the Chancellor of the Exchequer, or the Portuguese equivalent anyway. You now have 15.3 billion at your disposal to bring about the changes you would like to see. I mean, it seems so often seems to come down to that, doesn't it? That the transformation of power in society is about spending money, which of course I think is a little bit misleading. I mean, it does help, but it's not just that, is it? It's about mindset and context and all the rest of it. But let's say you were given 15.3 billion. Answers in the comments, please. What would you do with that? What sort of future would you create for Portugal? I've got a few ideas, and it is connected, absolutely connected. We're talking about Henrique Bastos a little bit later in this fantastic workshop that's coming up just down the road from me. Here in Anadia, the small, it's not a prefecture, but Anadia, the sub district of the district of Aveiro, anyway. And we'll come back to that to finish today. But anyway, yeah, 15.3 billion. It's not perfect, bearing in mind the original recovery fund plan has had to be lopped by 110 billion. That's quite a cut, but it translated into being enough to protect Portugal's national envelopes. He said, I suppose, national envelopes, not the brown envelope stuff with the aforementioned euros, but the envelopes, the boundaries of spending, I guess, past which we cannot go, in their view. Whether it will be sufficient long term, no one can predict, particularly as no one can predict the evolution of the virus, said Mr. Costa. But for now, it's a step in the right direction. And EU leaders are once again in negotiations to thrash out further details, aren't they always? The money due Portugal will start coming in January 2021. It's quite a lead time, isn't it? Given that, as I understand it, money can just be made up and deposited in anyone's account, according to how I understand money creation technology works. But yes, you have to wait till January 2021, said the Prime Minister, and continue to January 2026. That's interesting. A 5-year spread of that budget allotment. It looks like they're thinking it's going to be grim and long-term. That's quite long-term planning for politicians, isn't it? 5 years. It's an amount with great responsibility because it adds not only to the conclusion of the Portugal 2020 programme, but to the future of multi-annual financial framework, which we are still dealing with today. Therefore, as if you glazed over yet, therefore, it gives the country a few very significant opportunities to respond energetically to the deep crisis that has created serious unemployment. So for a lot of people, that can't come too soon. As I've always said, suffering tends to be personal and private, doesn't it? You know, there's all this sort of PR and propaganda and news about the economy, but obviously we all feel this on a very personal level. And wherever you are within that, I send you my best wishes and hope, and for what it's worth. Let's have a look at some of the other news items from the Portugal resident then. Our favourite news outlet currently, our news partners. Algarve's car rental industry grinds to a halt with fewer clients than in February and March, which I guess you'd only expect. Wildfire situation of alert from midnight tonight. That was the 16th of July. I still think we should be very wary. And as I always say, it's well worth having Fogos.pt, the app on your device, or stick it on, go to that website on your laptop. We covered how China's blocking Portuguese lamb imports yesterday, did we not? And there was another, I want to talk about this, it's a minister who's criticizing deep sea mining, which I thought was a rather good story. And it looks like I've given into the vocabulary of news, doesn't it? Calling them stories. I suppose they are stories. It's all made up in a way, isn't it? That might be one for you, Claire and Steve there. A bit of personal news for you. What does that say there? The Motorhome Federation says parking ban for beaches is absurd. It's always been so easygoing, it would appear to me, to park up. And I think that might be changing in Portugal, given that the Motorhome Federation says a parking ban for beaches is absurd. But more importantly, possibly in global terms, environmental terms, is the Minister of the Sea. What a fantastic title and portfolio that is. Warns of folly of deep sea mining. Minister of the Sea, Ricardo Serrão Santos, has welcomed the master plan that sees the sea as a pillar for Portugal's economic recovery, but warns there should be no deep sea mining around the Azores. Choosing his words carefully, he said deep sea mining would compromise the. Now, I'm never sure how to pronounce this word. Archipelago, archipelago, or archipelago. You tell me. I'm going to go with archipelago, the biodiversity, and it's not urgent. This is the deep sea mining, as he is convinced the world has sufficient mineral deposits which it can mine on land. And I would second that, wouldn't you? I mean, haven't we been kind of conditioned enough now to think that, like, delving around in the bottom of the sea in the ever expanding search for the Earth's resources, just we should maybe be a little bit more cautious and hesitant, as indeed Senor Santos is being here. This is definitely a different attitude to predecessor Ana Paulo Vitorino, who seemed all for any kind of mining and mineral extraction activity at sea. So thank goodness we've got him instead of her, I would say. As for the master plan, it is due to be discussed in detail in Parliament tomorrow and encourages mining and mineral extraction of all kinds, however. And these are areas, as we know, where the lobbying can be very strong indeed, and the vested interests and so on. So there you go. Has anyone answered the what you would do with 15.3 billion as a way of helping Portugal's economy recover? But then again, I mean, let's think about this figure anywhere in the world. You know, how would you invest money for what we might call a saner future, a safer future, a more ecologically sensible future, a less desperate future? Jay says, give everyone free electricity. Yeah, why not? It's doable, isn't it? With solar panels or solar planes or with solar planes or electric powered vehicles, mopeds, scooters, etc., and a source of self-sustainable food. Create permaculture market hubs in every town if there isn't anything useful already. Might have to involve buying back land that's doing nothing and going to waste, though. An updated medical clinic with more facilities in every town too. Jay Walker, you get the job. You are the new Chancellor of the Exchequer with a manifesto like that, mate. I'm with you. You're in my cabinet. That's me kind of assuming I'm the Prime Minister, isn't it? I would not want that job for sure. And for me, you know what, my cynicism tells me that 15.3 billion and the way it gets talked about is certainly enough money to keep all the political and bureaucratic machinery going. And I don't begrudge anyone that. I have to say, I'm not talking, you know, in a sour way about that. But what I've observed happening over the years of my adulthood, if I may push the boat out and refer to it as an adulthood, is that it's top down, isn't it? Again, you know, it's the money is coming into the national coffers, and if you want to look at how well it's coming from the top down, all you need to do is go and have a little drive around, or as Jay's suggesting here, I think, get on your electric moped and have a whiz around town, and let's see for ourselves what's going on out there. Has the money made it to where it's really needed, arguably? And like I said, I don't begrudge politicians and bureaucrats and politicians, you know, of every kind, every level. You know, everyone's got to survive, haven't they? And in the world that we've got, we equate survival with money, so people get really emotional and graspy about money, don't they? And they need to get some, and it's quite a sensible bet, isn't it, to get yourself in a lifelong job of politics, because then you and your family are taken care of in a world where you would assume you need money to survive. So fair play. My beef, however, of course, is that whole thing has to cost money to run, and is there any money left by the end of that process of trickle down for the people you might describe as the more symptomatic end of whether the system is working? You know, our children being fed. How many of a country's children have full bellies when they go to bed at night? Have they got their own bed in their own home to sleep in? Those sort of numbers. You know, how's that looking? What are the health and vitality indices looking like? Right down here on this level of life where most of us live. How's that working out? Is the 15.3 billion heading that way? And it was solar panels that Jay is talking about. And good morning to our mate in Sintra, Druba. Good morning to you. How are you? How's your garden growing, Druba? Love to see some photos. Look, this is a tomato. This is our first tomato. It's pathetic in many ways, but whilst on the one hand it's tiny and insignificant, it is so meaningful to us. See, this is what happens, isn't it? When you start to grow some of your own food, it feels like such a victory to have just created the first strawberry, not created, but nurtured the first strawberry tomato, whatever. And I know, Druba, your garden must look amazing at the moment. On the matter of motorhomers, too many irresponsible motorhomers are spoiling the beach spots by dumping waste and leaving litter. We always ruin it, don't we? Since the lockdown, wild camping, as this is known, has been banned throughout the Algarve and national park areas. You can only stay on organised sites with facilities, and we're all for that, say Claire and Steve. Yeah, fair play. And that's how it works, isn't it? I guess if you take care of things and you you leave no trace, as though you were indigenous people, nomads or hunter-gatherers, leaving no trace of your presence there, what could possibly go wrong? But if you're going to leave rubbish everywhere, some of you other wild campers and tourists and so on, this is what happens, I guess. This is what happens, that the authorities crack down on that and spoil it for everybody. There you go. Okay, so let's move on to much more cheerful and inspiring territory. But that's a good introduction, I think. When I say I'm not sure how much of the 15.3 billion is going to filter down ultimately into the hands wallets or to lubricate the lives of everyday people, that would also lead me to say that perhaps everyday people need to think more about taking care of themselves. And what better way of doing that than getting some of your own land or access to land? It doesn't have to be your own, does it? As long as you've got some sort of tenure and access to soil, you can grow. And I think that is the most revolutionary and brilliant thing that we can possibly do. As I think Druba may well agree with me. And some other people think, like, get with the program, Carl. We've all been doing this for years, and loads of Portuguese people have been growing their food for years. And we'll just think this Johnny come lately idiot who's come over from the UK is just picking up what we've done for decades, centuries. And I would agree with you. That is exactly what I'm doing. And I would love to learn from you. And one amazing man that we can learn from, I was hoping Marco Raposa might be here with me on the screen this morning to talk this through. He is hosting Henrique, and we'll have a look at his. What I'll do is I'll put his website up so that you can see how beautiful his work is. And here we go. Here's his website. He has a number of lovely creations that are showcased on the web. Excuse me. I'm just going to have a little sip of. Okay, we're all good. So that we can really do this justice, I might even take myself off the screen here for a minute and just show you these beautiful, beautiful pictures. Let us just take any distraction away from the background there so that we can see. Yeah, I hope you're seeing on your screen at the moment, mandala vegetables. And this is so brilliant because it actually has a slideshow that I can just leave running while I'm telling you about what's going on with Henrique and this workshop at the weekend over at Marco's Place. Marco's Place, incidentally, is the Quinta da Nogueira. I was hoping to find out, is that nuts? It's walnut, isn't it? The Nogueira Walnut Farm, that would be. So a little bit of Portuguese vocabulary for you, Quinta da Nogueira. And that is, as I said, in the Anadia sub-district of Aveiro over here in Portugal. And this workshop is happening this weekend with Henrique Bastos, and it is described as a day of learning with the maestro, I suspect, master or maestro Henrique Bastos on biopesticides. That would be non-disruptive, harmful, nasty pesticides. This is about the treatment of trees as well, the construction of a holistic garden. So obviously, biological pesticides will come into that. Rather than using chemicals from which it is hard to recover from their application. Also, maintenance, pruning, and the importance of soil generation. And I hear, if you're thinking like, why is Munson banging on about this? What's so important about this? Apparently, by some estimations, we only have 60 years of soil left in terms of the gross annual harvest, if you like. There's only enough nutrition in the soils left for 60 more years unless we regenerate and rebuild the soil. And I think that's what I want to do with the rest of my life, actually, is make love, make peace, and make soil. as odd as that last one may sound to people who come from Devon. But to me, the soil is everything, because, of course, you know, it's a bit like us humans. We are creatures of our environment, and the context that we're in creates the results that we get, right? And so that's why I think soil is so important. And in many ways, if you take care of the soil, look at those plants on the screen now. If you take care of the soil, the growing in many ways will take care of itself, or will be less of a problem. If you've got incredible soil, I think you will likely have incredible plants and incredible food and incredible nutrition, and you will be in the Garden of Eden. Basically, you'll be surrounded by beauty, and that will be enriching and nourishing in itself. So this is at the Quinta de Nogueira, as we said at the weekend, located on the slope of Serra de Bussaco, near the Bussaco Palace, and the thermal water triangle of Coria. This is where I'm broadcasting from now, Luso and Valdemoro. I thought that was Valdemort when someone first said that to me, but Valdemoro, Coria and Luso, the thermal water triangle. This is the Bairrada region, great wines here as well, and the local food speciality being the suckling pig. Rehabilitation project for therapeutic and agro-tourism purposes. That's what Marco is all about, and that's where this wonderful workshop will be taking place this weekend. And I'll just give you the timings for that as well. And do you know what? It's €40 to take part in this, including lunch and tea breaks, which I think is incredible value. You know, there will be people going out this weekend spending €40 on lunch alone, and we're chucking a few coffees and drinks. With this, you get to be in the company of this incredible man, by the sound of it, Henrique Bastos, whose website I am sharing with you on the screen right now. Let's have a look, find out a bit more about him and what he's talking about here. Mandala Gardens, regeneration agriculture in consciousness with sacred geometry and Inca ancestral techniques. This is deep, deep stuff. And whether or not you're into the whole sort of history and background of it, you can't deny, can you, that just looks really special. It does to me, what he's doing there, and this idea of working with the energies of our ancestors and the earth, and maybe perhaps the plants themselves, you know. Good agronomic practices, biodynamic, biointensive and ecological agriculture. And they're back to those fabulous photographs. The implementation of these methodologies has an influence on me, says Henrique, expressing concern for the preservation of natural resources, self-sufficiency of communities and sustainability. Bang on! That's what us happy homesteaders are all about. My life mission is to pass this knowledge on to future generations to develop a new awareness and peace in the world. Awesome! I urge you to go to hortashmandala.weebly.com to find out more. That is what we're looking at now. But I do urge you to go and look for that yourself. And the great thing is, we have the man who's the host of this workshop to tell us a bit more about it. Just joining us on the screen. To you. I'll go back to the comments for a moment and just see what people have to say. Oh, I see. Morning from Rod Skeet. Good morning to you, Rod. Can you imagine one of those fabulous mandalas in your garden? I would love to see that in your garden, Rod. I think you could take that to the next level. So let's go back to Marco. And oh, cool. We've got the lack of me twice, which has got to be a good thing. Good morning. Hola, bon dia, Marco.
Bon dia, Carl. Thank you for your program and show. It's always a pleasure to listen to you in the morning. Not always, but when I can, I'm always listening.
It's not always a pleasure, but I was sharing the video, the show reel, Henrique, and it wasn't coming out, unfortunately. So I do urge people to go and look at that. But how do you know this guy, and what can you tell us about him?
So this guy, I met him in Porto. I'm also founder of an association. And one day he was a friend of other friends. He said, let's organize a workshop with kids. Everyone barefoot and doing seed balls and with kids and always with that good energy. And then I read and I saw that he lived in 50 countries. He made all South America autostop, and he's an amazing guy, no? Special energy, and all his life dedicated to agriculture projects, or wine, or gardening, or now with holistic and the approach of the Incas that he loved to be there. You know, design and biodiversity. Each plant protects each plant, and also a lot of production. And he knows. No, he came here last week, and you look to the plants. Oh, this soil is like this. We need this, that.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful.
technical knowledge, just observing the plants,
Yeah. So he's a guru, a maestro.
Yeah, it's a maestro, definitely.
The maestro of the garden. Fantastic. So we'll come back to him, I'm sure. But tell us about your project, because you're in this business of regeneration and you're tying it up with tourism, yeah?
Yeah, and I start. So this house is from my grandfather bought the house. I think it should be 200 years old. I have no idea yet. I didn't made the historical research of the house. So it passed to my grandfather and then to my father, and now it's of the family. And I'm managing and recovering the vegetation and doing tourism. And also, one of my goals is to people arrive here with low energy, or if they arrive with high energy, perfect, and give them good food, give them vibration. We have water, also bicycles, and just make them smile to life.
Oh, sounds fantastic. And this, of course, is a vision for Portuguese tourism, isn't it? Certainly in central Portugal. Is it, this a lot of this could be going on all over Portugal? Oh, we've lost Marco there, but I'm just saying there that I just think that's that could be extended. That idea of those sort of regenerative holidays, calm down, take it easier, take it slower, and be in Portugal for the longer term. You know, typically the tourist footprint in Portugal is to fly into Lisbon, drive up to Porto, and to be gone in 3 days. To me, that's not very sustainable tourism, as we've seen. You know, people using Portugal just to come and enjoy themselves and then go again with cheap flights and stuff. As much fun as that has been for people, it's also been very precarious.
I'm back.
Yeah, gotcha, Marco. I was just saying that I think it's a very nice blueprint for tourism for the future in Portugal. We could do a lot more of that.
Yeah, it also it's work with nature. No, if you are in the rural area, and also this destination is not how do you say? It's not like Jerez or Algarve. It's not so well known.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of water, and municipalities must also to help us to improve the destiny.
Yes, indeed. And
it's a way.
some of that 15.3 billion euros that's coming Portugal's way could be invested in our area here. Would be wonderful.
It will be interesting.
The workshop this weekend, does it start on Friday with Henrique?
Yeah, it's on Friday. Yeah.
Okay, and so what will it be like? Are there still spaces for people to come, and what can they expect?
So it will be like a demonstration. The yard is quite big, so we'll do an example of everything we can do it, and planning, and understand why you will do like this, why, we have 2 points of water, and we will play a little bit like with that, and also with the trees that are already installed. And we will design and see which kind of soil we have, what the soil needs, and the combination of plants, and also the trees here, as like I have olive trees with 300 years maybe, and they need some care. It's nice if they stay with the, how do you call it, that herb that on the bark, musgo in Portuguese.
It's moss, right?
Yeah, but they need to be clean, to be healthy, to produce well. That's the goal, no?
Okay. And
nature is some intervention to be productive.
Yes, indeed. So humans and nature working in harmony rather than one or the other winning.
Yeah, that's it.
Incredible. Well, I put the links up to your farm for the agritourism, which you're doing beyond the workshop, and then there's a link for the workshop itself for this weekend. Anything else you want to share with us about Henrique or what you're doing before we conclude today?
No, it's come to see, even for a tea, as you mostly are English. I don't offer coffee. Even for a tea, just come to see, because this is a rehabilitation project. This will be the first 3 years, and then we will continue with other things.
Amazing.
And also, we are in reforestation because there is a lot of monoculture.
Yeah.
And each year we are planting, I don't know, this year I hope to plant 1,000 different trees. Let's see. Step by step.
Yes, indeed. But I guess, every big journey, as they say, as the old cliche says, starts with a single step. And I love the sound of the steps you're taking there. And just to have this man in our area. Is he Portuguese, Henrique Bastos?
Yeah, it's Portuguese. He's from Cabeceiras de Basto.
Wow. Okay. And he's like the son of
in the
Portugal,
north.
coming back after his journey all around the world. And is he like helping all over Portugal now?
Yeah, now he's visiting some projects because I think, I don't know if I can say this, but I think he's going to Mozambique soon.
Okay. All right. So I guess he's in demand with the particular skills he's got. And it's so beautiful what he's doing. I mean, I think a lot of people, a lot of formal gardeners, old-fashioned gardeners, think organic farming is quite mucky, and they don't want to do it. But the way he does it, he kind of brings all the best of all worlds together. It looks like to me with that sort of mandala idea.
Yeah, it's beautiful, but it takes a lot of work. Also, people don't think that you just do the nice drawings and it's done. No, you need to look after, even if it's more organic.
That's the thing with beauty, I suppose, isn't it? It looks effortless from the outside, but nobody really knows how much work it takes.
Yeah, it's a lot of hands helping and things are going,
Yeah. Marco,
and also, in here we have a lot of resources by the forest, My grandmother used to pick up to clean the forest, give to animals, go to herd. Now they clean the forest and they burn to make energy. It's a little bit nonsense. Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy what we're doing. And it's great to have these sort of reminders and wake-up calls. So thanks for doing it, Marco. Thanks for putting the workshop on. And good luck with your project and all that you're doing. And I'll see you soon, mate, for a cup of tea.
Take care.
All right. Bye for now. Wonderful. There goes Marco. The workshop details are in the comments. And I think we'll leave it there for today. I'm so